Okay, it's time for Jerry and the Goddesses, Part 10. Here we go. You gonna hurl again, Jerry? Gary asked me. No, that's its name. Ixlablautl, like axolotl, but more cavemanish. It? Gary asked, his eyebrows up as he rubbed at his wrists. Ixlablautl is a primordial god of human ancestors, I told him as he strode over and began cutting my own ropes. It's basically every nightmare about a scary monster you've ever had all rolled into one eldritch abomination. Huh, Gary said. My ropes fell and I stood up, my wet pants chafing me already. Well, I ain't so sure about all of that, but whatever it is, it sounds hungry and pretty unfriendly, so let's not be here when it gets through with whoever it's eating right now. He grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the door opposite the one the noises were coming from. The gunfire had fallen off, replaced by a wet crunching and the occasional scream. Gary, wait, I cried. It's my pet. It's here for us. What? He asked, giving me a blank look. Ixlablautl is kind of my pet. He's like a dog. Well, smarter than a dog, really, but not as smart as a person. But he likes me, and he's been living with me stateside for a while. He must have been summoned by my fear when we were taken. What? Gary still looked perplexed. I completely understood. The Eldritch Abomination is on our side, I said. Jerry, listen, I don't know what that is. It sounds like a fucking grizzly, except there ain't no grizzlies in the stand. So I'm not too keen on finding out exactly what it is. A werewolf or something for all I know. But whatever it is, it's very clearly not friendly. So let's just hustle on. A massive roar, extremely close, shook the room. I recognized the tone of it. It was a happy roar. Gary, you might want to close your eyes, I said, and then the door burst open and a nightmare came through. Gary screamed like a little girl. I did too. Ixie had that effect on me even now. But even in his terror, Gary didn't freeze. He grabbed my arm and shoved me through the other door hard, pushing me forward as he ran. I didn't have the wherewithal to fight it, so I let myself get pushed forward. After a few seconds, I realized something. Ixie didn't know Gary. Gary, get ahead of me, I called. I ain't leaving you behind, he responded. God, this guy was a badass. No, seriously, get in front of me. I can stop Ixie. You have a pet name for the damn thing? It's my pet, I told you. I sidestepped Gary and got behind him, then stopped and turned. The sight of Ixie boiling down the hall behind us almost made me wet myself again. Ixie, I called, closing my eyes, holding my breath, and stretching my arms out. A second later, I was bowled over by the writhing mass of tentacles and fangs, and a half dozen tongues began licking me all over, the smell creeping in even through my own held breath. But the smell was the only part of Ixie I was really getting used to. I managed to keep myself from dry heaving as he expressed his overdue affection. Ixie, friend, Gary is my friend. Ixie, Ixie, I cried. It took several more minutes to extricate myself. As I stood, Ixie turned a couple of dozen eyes down the hall and began to growl. Ixie, stay, I said. 6 or 7 eyes looked at me, so I said it again. Ixie, stay. I got most of his eyes this time. Gary, I need you to come give me a hug, I said, backing away without taking my eyes off the monstrosity. Okay, bud, I do not swing that way. I ain't. Gary, please, this is not about my libido. It's about showing Ixie that we're friends. Look, you just saw him slobber me up with kisses just now. He's my pet, but he can be very defensive. We need to show him that we're friends, or he might try to hurt you. Just promise me this isn't a sex thing. I promise, Gary. Gary walked over slowly and gave me a side hug. Ixie, see? Friend. Gary's a friend. Ixie, now hold your hand out so he can sniff it. Are you for real? Gary asked, but he did it. Ixie caressed the hand gently with a tentacle, then moved another tentacle with a snout forward to sniff it. With that done, he moved forward and a long tongue emerged from the tangle of limbs and legs to slobber up Gary's face. He gagged, but held it down. I was so jealous of him. Okay, now that that's settled, where do we go? Gary looked at me, silent for a moment. His face was unreadable. Just as I was starting to worry that maybe his mind is broken, he spoke. Well, with a pet nightmare following us around anywhere we want is really the only answer. But for now, I say we go back the way that Ixie came. Maybe I can find my gear and to be fair, you could use a change of clothes yourself. So we walked back. The hall on the other side of the classroom we'd been held in was an abattoir. Blood was splattered everywhere and body parts lay strewn about. I counted 3 left feet, but there wasn't even enough left to make one full corpse. Gary picked up a rifle but couldn't find any clips with bullets in it, so we moved on. In the entryway, we found a couple of mattresses on the floor and some backpacks. Gary found pair of hands and tunbins and sneakers for both of us, and found clips for his gun. Magazines, Jerry. They're called magazines. Oh, okay. Per his insistence, I took a gun as well, a rifle like Gary's with a long banana-looking clip in it. We wrapped turbans around our head to blend in a little better, and then we peeked outside. Ixie bouncing around behind us, sniffing at everything we'd touched. The street was full of armed men and parked trucks, with more trucks full of men arriving one after another. Well, ain't that a peach, Gary muttered. Jerry, can your pal here get us out of this? I don't know. Well, as you can see, he's an absolute nightmare, especially when he's mad. And he can't die, but he can get hurt. And if he does, he'll slink off to heal, into another dimension or something. I don't know if he can kill all those people before they hurt him enough to chase him off. Shit. Well, let's hope they haven't surrounded the building yet. We checked several windows and doors and were very disappointed to learn that we were, in fact, surrounded. Well, shit, Jerry, I'm fresh out of ideas, Gary said after the last window showed us a view of a truck with a gun on it and a dozen armed men. I sighed. I knew what I had to do. I spat on my hand and unzipped. The end.